Okay, now let's take the criminal law first. Criminal law takes you to thinking about the police. In Turkey, you have two different police forces. You have the police and then you have the gendarme.
Correct.
And can you just explain very simply what the difference between them is?
Actually, it is most about the location of the organization. If it's the center of a town or city, we would expect the police force is like in force. But if it's a rural area and outside of the cities and towns are governed by the gendarme because it's part of the military.
Yes.
So, but basically the powers and the procedures will be followed as same as between each other, yeah.
And so for our viewers who are foreigners, as the consumers of the service, it doesn't make any difference at all whether you're arrested by the gendarme or arrested by the police.
It's just the uniforms are different.
You're in trouble either way. The uniform's different, the guns are the same, and you have to do what they tell you.
Exactly, and both forces are bound up with the instructions of prosecutor.
Yes.
That is the gist of the
they're
idea.
They're both answerable to the same prosecution
Correct.
system. And in terms of police rights, I think it's probably worth saying, isn't it, that Turkey is much more aggressively policed than we're used to in many European countries.
Correct.
I mean, certainly, I come from England and I can drive for 500 kilometres up our motorway system and I will never see a police car. I think we've decided spending money on the police is too expensive, so we just let people commit crime all the time instead. But in Turkey, you see the police everywhere.
Yes, I think police is still very an intense form of
Yes.
our system, the public system, and they have, I have to say, quite wide powers,
Yes.
so which you are not maybe used to.
And they believe that doing checks is a good way of spending their time. You will get stopped quite regularly in Turkey, and the officer will want to see your driving license and your car papers and maybe open the boot to have a look inside. And you shouldn't be worried or think you've done something wrong if that happens.
No, yeah, because we have a regular checkpoints, even on a regular business hours. They have to do that. They are delegated just for that checkpoints. Some of the police or gendarme.
Yes.
And of course, the current climate all over the world. Actually, we are trying to keep it more secure. So.
Yes.
So when you got stopped by a police at a checkpoint, it is nothing to worry about that because they are looking everyone, and you just need to answer their questions, provide the documentation, and that's it. Then they will let you go.
Yes, and
if you are not a criminal, of course.
Of course, if you're not on the wanted list.
Yeah.
I came in from the airport 2 or 3 days ago, and on the journey from the airport to the centre of Bodrum, which is 35 kilometres, something like that, we were stopped 3 times. Now that doesn't often happen, but it's quite often that you stop once.
And also there is a special thing about Bodrum because we are a peninsula and it is very close to the Greek islands,
Yes.
so it is a very popular destination who wants to run away.
Yes.
So in here it is a bit more, and also lots of tourists are coming here. So.
But the point is not to worry about it, it's perfectly
Absolutely.
normal. They're not picking on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So that's the police. We will be dealing in a separate video about criminal law and criminal court cases, so I'm not going to go through the process now, but I do want to mention another key player here in the legal system, and that is the prosecutor.
Correct.
Now, people who come from France and Spain, for example, will be familiar with this idea that the police have certain duties and the prosecutor has certain duties. In each country, the balance is a little different. But can you just explain very simply what the police do and what the prosecutor does?
The police has to work for the public security. And if there is anything putting the public or a person in danger, then police have to interfere. But the police only do the first instance interfere. And after they involve with the problem, then they have to apply to the prosecutor for further steps. I mean, if there will be statement to be obtained, or if they will be put in like a temporary custody, everything has to be done by the instructions of the prosecutor.
So the police use their eyes and ears and detain you.
Correct.
But once they've detained you, everything else about that court case is run by the prosecutor.
Correct.
So if the prosecutor thinks that your home should be searched, he will give instructions to do it. If the prosecutor thinks that certain evidence ought to be gathered, he can direct the police to do
Actually,
this.
how it works is the prosecutor are basically like they are working for the sake of the public security. And if they think that something is like either harming a third party or government or the total public, they are making some searches and decisions. But such as searching your house, we also have judges involved, because the prosecutor is only looking from the point of public and the government. So it is different roles are being taken by different legal entities.
So for a search warrant to search your house, for example, the prosecutor would have to go to the judge.
Yeah,
and get
he can only make a claim.
Yeah, okay.
And the claim has to be checked by the judge, and there should be a trial about that.
Yes.
So the judge will make the decision.
Now, as we'll see when we get to the section about criminal law, the word trial here means something different from what many of our viewers might think. But there'll be an application made to the court for a search warrant.
Correct.
And so the man in charge, really, or the woman in charge of the conduct of a criminal case, is going to be the prosecutor.
Yeah, I would say so.
Right.